back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hey guys, so I am here today with Steve, who some of you might remember from a recent live show. Steve's my partner, so we are both interested in doing the OWL's Readathon, which is the Harry Potter Readathon sweeping booktube by storm currently. I think it was its first year last year and I completely missed the boat. But this year I'm very, very determined to get on board and hopefully really enjoy getting involved in this readathon, because I think it sounds like one that's going to be a lot of fun. So it was originally created by Book Roast, and I will put a link to all of her videos on this topic and all the other things owls related below, because she is very detailed, like super meticulous, so everything you need to know is going to be down there. And let's just get started. So we are doing our OWLs in preparation for the Newts, which are in August. Steve's laughing because he's never done a readathon before, so he's just like, what world have I come into here? But I think you'll find it fun. So Book Roast has come up with this amazing document, which, let's just say, not every readathon has this, but it's super incredibly detailed. There's like pages and pages of information, and in here you can choose what career you would like. So you take your OWLs, then you take your Newts in August, and then if you get all of them, then you can become whatever career you want in this big book. So we've each chosen careers, and it runs for the whole month of April, the whole of the owls, and then the whole month of August for the Newts. I think that's everything. So Steve is going to tell you a little bit about the one that he's chosen first, and then I'll tell you mine after that, because I've got quite a few more books to read than you for mine. But that's okay. So start with you.
Alright, that's because it's easier for you to read lots of books than me, but that's fine.
Well, yeah,
so,
you're a beginner. It's fine.
So I've chosen the Orologist. I'm guessing that's somewhat readable there, but you can get the information in the download links. So this is the study of auras. So the Orologist has 3 subjects to qualify in.
Each subject has a book prompt.
So for astronomy, I've chosen a book that has a star in the title. So for that, I've chosen A Star Reckoner's Lot,
which is the only book that we own on the entirety of these bookshelves and all my other shelves that has the word star in the title. So we are both going to be reading this book.
So the main character in this story is Ash. That's a shortened version of her name because her name is really long.
Yeah.
And she controls the might of the constellations through her magic. However, the magic that she uses is very unpredictable. It's very risky and it's catastrophe waiting to happen. So there's a lot of potential for lots of magic in this book, which I'm quite excited about.
Which is good. We like magic. I'm excited about this one too. I actually have both of the books in this series, like the first and the second. I think someone who is a reviewer that I know sent them to me because they really rate the author and I'd not heard of them, so I'm very excited to get to this one and see what we think. So I am doing this one, which is The Alchemist, because I have a complex and I want to do everything. So The Alchemist is all about alchemy, obviously. It's kind of like Nicholas Flamel from Harry Potter. He was an alchemist. He did the Philosopher's Stone and all that. It's probably going to be people who tell me I'm wrong now, but if I'm wrong, please just don't tell me that. I think that's right. And so for The Alchemist, you need all 12 of the OWLs. So you need Ancient Runes, Arithmancy, Astrology, Care of Magical Creatures, Charms, Defense Against the Dark Arts, Divination, Herbology, History of Magic, Muggle Studies, Potions and Transfiguration. So obviously I'm doing the same as Steve for Astrology, but other than that I think most of them we're different on. In fact, all the others we're different on. So I'll just start off with the first one on the list, which is Ancient Runes, and for that one I needed a retelling. Now, I don't own many retellings, so I've picked up this one, which is not technically one retelling, it's actually a collection of different mythologies. I looked into this on Goodreads because I honestly didn't know what it was about, and this does not give a lot of information away.
other than it's something to do with animals and whales, and it's inspired by a lot of older mythology, and I think it's quite a good story from the sounds of it. Like, a lot of people on Goodreads really seem to rate it. It's by Joanne Harris, and it's called The Blue Salt Road, so I'm excited to give it a go. It's also really short, which is what I needed because most of the books in my pile are super duper long. So the next one I have to do for my one is Arithmancy, and this one you need a work written by more than one author.
So it's short story collections and collaborations, things like that, really.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't have, well, I have a couple of short story collections, but not that many. And this, I think, is just a collaboration. It's one I actually picked up really recently, and it's called Once and Future. It's by Amy Rose Capetta and Corey McCarthy. Now, this one I honestly had never heard of before I picked it up. It was a complete cover buy based on the fact that my friend and I were in Waterstones and we were both like, ooh, what is that? And we both ended up buying it. So I'm planning to read this with Lauren, and hopefully we'll both enjoy it. I did look it up on Goodreads once I got home because there was no Wi-Fi in the Waterstones, and it seems to have a really good rating, but only about 100 people have read it, which is not very many in the grand scheme of Goodreads. It is a new release, so yeah, we'll see. It says, coming to terms with your identity is always difficult, but for Ari, as the reincarnation of King Arthur, it just got a lot more complicated. And to be honest, that's all I needed to know because it sounds completely mad, but I'm definitely excited. So
yeah, it does sound like a good story from that blurb alone, and then it's also got the cover to go with it as well.
It also says that it's a sizzling, bold exploration of gender, power and revolution, so I'm guessing it's going to be a little bit like female power throughout, which I'm liking. So the next one that I needed to do is Care of Magical Creatures, and for that you needed a book that has a land animal on the cover. Not sure why, because most magical creatures can fly, but whatever. So this is, oh, I nearly hit you with my bookmark.
Nice.
This is the book I chose for it, and it is called Dagger Spell. It's by Catherine Kerr, and it's a classic fantasy, first one in the Deveri series, of which I have no idea how many there are. But this one follows, so far, a young girl who lives with her mother in a tavern, and her father is some sort of wandering soldier. He used to be a knight, but now he can no longer be a knight because he got dishonoured. So he now takes on patronage with kind of anyone who's willing to pay. We're following him and his daughter when her mother dies, and he comes along and he takes her away. His daughter is kind of like this very adventurous, girlish version of him, unafraid and unapologetic, and I really like her so far, so hopefully the book will be good in the whole.
Okay, so the next one that I have is Divination, and that one is looking at books that are set in the future. So for my choice for that one is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. This has been released recently. It's turning out to be quite popular. So this story follows Spencer, who dreams of becoming a space pilot, fighting against an alien race called the Krell, who constantly bombard her home planet with attacks after attacks. I always like the idea of stories with space battles. They always seem really cool to me, so I'm interested to read this book, and I've liked other Sanderson books before now, so I'll probably like this one as well.
Okay, so my next one is Charms, and for that one I needed a age line, read an adult work, so pretty much everything on this shelf, minus maybe one or two things, would count. So I just chose one that I really wanted to read. And the one that I chose is The Sword of Kaigan, a Theonite war story by M.L. Wang. This is one that got sent to me by the author and is actually self-published, I believe. It's one that has been really hyped up for a self-published book. It's not been entered into the SBFBO. I think it came out after the entries were closed, so it didn't count, but maybe it'll get entered next time. But honestly, this book has been getting rave reviews from everyone who reads epic, high fantasy and likes similar stuff to me in the reviewer sphere, like the blog world. So I don't even know what this book is about, but I just know that I need to read it. And when I say I don't know what it's about, I know it's an epic fantasy. So I don't need to know an awful lot more than that just to decide that I'm going to read this one. It is really chunky though. It's actually quite a weighty book. The text is fairly small and it's like about 600 pages. So it's definitely one of my longer ones for the month, but we have got the whole of April. Hopefully I can squeeze it in amongst all the others that I'm planning to read. Next up, I have a Defense Against the Dark Arts book to read, and for this one you need to use a book that starts with the letter R because of the spell reducto. We don't have any books that start with the letter R, so I've gone for the rig R, and we're just disregarding the. I mean, it's a lot smaller than the rig bit anyway is, so it counts, I think. Again, this is also really big, which is again a problem.
You've chosen a lot of larger books for this.
600 plus pages for this one as well. This has slightly more normal sized writing, so it should be quicker than the other one. And it is beautiful, and I do want to read it, but it's long, so we'll see. It says, on a desert planet, two boys meet, sparking a friendship that will change human society forever. There's murders, one man survives. Welcome to the system. Whatever that means. I don't really like knowing much about books before going into them. I very much skim read everything because I like to just go in blind.
So the next one that I have, and the final one for my one, is A History of Magic, where you need to choose a book that is over 10 years old or published at least 10 years ago. So for this one I chose Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Bit of a classic. Always wanted to read this one, so I thought it's good time as any to pick it up and have a look. So it follows Guy Montag, who's a fireman, and his job is to burn books. Books are prohibited in this world, so it's a bit similar to 1984 in the control of the media and all of that, and I've read 1984 and liked it, so this will probably be quite an interesting read as well.
I think Ray Bradbury is one of those authors that a lot of people really talk about, so it'd be interesting to hear what you think, because I haven't read any of his yet either, so...
Yeah, I'm quite interested to see it. It always catches my eye, so it's a good time to read it, I think.
I do really like those editions as well. They have like different colours for all of his books in a similar style, and I quite like them.
And
so.
I think the cover looks good on this edition anyway.
Yeah. So the next one for me is also Divination, which is a book set in the future. And I have chosen this one by Gavin Smith, The Bastard Legion. It's the first in the Bastard Legion series, and it sounds like it is set on a ship where there's a load of prisoners. They're very dangerous criminals. They're all kept in suspended animation, and they are supposed to be rehabilitated. I actually think you would like this, in a shared virtual reality environment. However, we then have Miska Corbin, who is a thief who comes along and tries to break everyone out and recruits them to go on some sort of heist, I think. They're controlled by explosive collars and trained in virtual reality by the electronic ghost of a dead Marine sergeant. Sounds pretty good. So we'll see.
Sounds interesting.
I think you would like it from the sounds of that.
Probably from the sound of that,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, definitely intrigued about this one. It is set in the future because it says it's 400 years in the future on the back, so we're okay, tick. Next up we have Herbology, and for this one you need a book with a plant on the cover, so I've chosen this one. Well, actually you chose it for me, and this is The Trouble with Lichen, or Lichen, I never quite know how to say it, by John Wyndham. John Wyndham's an author I've really enjoyed. I don't know why Steve hasn't got to him yet, because I keep recommending him to him, and he's really, really good. He's a sort of classic sci-fi author. He writes these very cosy science fiction, I was going to say films, but it's not films, books, and he is just an author who I feel you can settle into the story, but the ideas are still really big and interesting. This one follows two scientists who are investigating this rare lichen. Discover it has a remarkable property. It can retard the aging process, so it seems like it's a great discovery, but of course there are ramifications bigger than people suspect, and that's what it's about. So it's quite a short one, which is good. I own and have read almost all of his books now, so I'm very close to finishing them, and this is one of the last. Next up I have History of Magic, which, like Steve, is a book published at least 10 years ago. So I've gone for a classic as well. This one you can't even see the cover very well. It's Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. It's one of the vintage classics, and it's got a red spine. I don't really know too much about Brave New World because it's just a similar theme to the whole 1984 Fahrenheit 451. It's all about control. It sounds a bit messed up. So yeah, going to find out more about it when I read it. Next up, I have Muggle Studies, which is a contemporary book. This one I struggled with because I don't own many contemporaries, and particularly Steve actually wanted to be something else originally, but we couldn't find him a contemporary book for it, so he's changed his career path suddenly. But I've decided to go with this one for my contemporary. It is very much contemporary. Savita Kalan's The Girl in the Broken Mirror. And this is a book I got when I went to an event. It's a book about a girl who comes from a very strict Indian family, and she moves in with her aunt and uncle who are even stricter than the lifestyle she's grown up with, and they sort of restrict her from having any friends who are not of the same culture over and stuff like that. And it's about her struggles and growing up as a teenager in a lifestyle that is so confined because of her race and her culture and all of that stuff. So I think it'll be quite an interesting one. Haven't really seen anyone else talk about it, but I will let you guys know what I think. Next up, I have Potions, and Potions you have to read the sequel, so the next ingredient, it's the sequel, and I've gone for this one, Naomi Novik's Throne of Jade, which is the sequel to Temeraire. I read Temeraire years ago, probably about 2 years ago, really enjoyed it, and then instantly bought the next two and never carried on with it, as is the story of a lot of my series. But I really want to get back to it. In fact, I have actually started this one today, and I'm halfway through. Today is the 1st of April, so doing pretty well. I got the audiobook as well so that I could audiobook it at work, and I've really enjoyed it. It's a fantasy of manners style, kind of set in the Napoleonic Wars, and we are on the side of England, who are very similar to how England was, except that they fly dragons to battle. Our main dragon is called Temeraire. He's great, so that's kind of the concept of the story. Steve's like, yeah, I'm going to read that too now.
That sounds interesting now you mention that, yeah.
So you should read it, it's good. Well, the first one, and this one too. So yeah, really interesting concept. I really enjoy the writing style of this one. Naomi Novik is an author that I've been up and down with. This series of hers I really like. Some of her other books I'm not so much a fan, but this series I think is really good. And then the final book that I have to read is For Transfiguration, and it is either a book that is red on the cover or one that has sprayed edges. So I don't really have any that have sprayed edges. It's not something you tend to get very often in science fiction and fantasy, unless it's either an amazingly good book that sort of has a load of promo, or it's an ARC copy. I do occasionally get ARC copies with sprayed edges because they think that looks cooler, which it does. But I don't have any on my actual TBR, so I've gone for a red cover, and that is this one, Tooth and Claw by Jo Walton. Jo Walton's another author who I've been up and down with. I really like some of her books. I've not really enjoyed some of her others, so I'm hoping this one will be, yes, I enjoyed it. It has got a dragon on it, and it is about dragons, so I think I will like it, but then equally I could be majorly disappointed. Let's hope not. It's about a family of dragons who gather together on the occasion of the death of their father, the elder Bon Agornin. As is custom, they must eat his body, but even as Bon's last remains are polished off, his progeny are vying for position in the new hierarchy. Whilst the youngest son is greedy through the courts of law, the eldest son agonises over his father's scandalous deathbed confession. Lots of politics in Dragonkind, I think, so it'll be interesting. So that is everything, all the books we're going to read. Steve has 3 to read, I have 12. We'll let you guys know how we get on. I'm going to try and do a bit of vlogging as I read in the week. Steve may slightly feature depending on how he feels, we'll see. But I'm hoping I'll try and do a bit of a vlog either weekly or as a monthly thing if I just do tiny snippets. I don't know what I'm going to do. I haven't really thought that far, but I'm going to do something. So you'll see that, and I'd love to know in the comments if you're taking part, what you're going to be reading, what you're most excited about from the pile we're going to be reading, if you've read what we're reading. Let me know all of that, and I will see you all very soon in another video. Thank you guys for watching. Bye!
Bye! So I've chosen for this one a Star Reckoner's Lot.
Ash Tadukut. Okay.
Character called
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book.
then come back and chat with me again.